Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I sure hope you're doing well. This is SYNOLVE, and I am. There we are. There you are. There I am. Okay, this is SYNOLVE, and I'm so excited about today. If my phone doesn't fall, I'm so excited about today because I have an amazing guest. I have Shana from Shana's Love Coaching, and from so Shana's making some upgrades and some changes. Hey, Milton. And so she's going to tell you all her new information. And so I am so excited. I am so excited about today. So while you guys are sharing is caring. Just come on in and have an amazing day with us. Spend the day with us as I talk to Shana, who is an amazing coach and just an amazing person. And so I am absolutely so excited to be talking with her today. So come on in, go ahead and do what we do. Go ahead and share the broadcast with everyone. Make sure you're sharing over on Instagram and on Facebook. And while you're there, go ahead and click in the links below in the description box because I have links where you can connect with Shana. It's a very exciting day today. Yes, very exciting. And so go ahead and just click in there and you can be connected with Shana on her website and on her social media channels, everywhere, everywhere that Shana is. I'm SYNOLVE, by the way. So welcome. I'm SYNOLVE. I'm your host, and I'm just excited about self-love. Y'all know I love self-love, and so I am the author of Love the New Currency, and I'm currently working on another book, which chronicles the Black Exodus. And so, if you want to grab this book, I'm leaving the links below. You can grab this on Amazon to support me. Also, you can support me by buying me a coffee and heading over to Buy Me a Coffee. Buy one coffee, two coffee, three coffees, and you can support my writing journey. You can support a chapter. We're talking about expats and traveling and all this fun stuff, but you can support a chapter or the entire book. And so that is definitely an option. So thank you guys for all of your support. I love you. I am so amazingly grateful for you for being here on our journey. Now, I found Shana over on Throp's channel. If you haven't checked out my interview with Throp, please do. I found her over on Throp's channel, and I was so impressed with her. Always, whenever she is interacting and she's talking over on whenever I see her on social media, and I was like, I have got to interview her. I've got to interview her. And so and sit down and talk with her about all things self-love, about taking care of yourself, about taking care of your body, and about taking care of your mind and your spirit and your soul, because all of this is connected. Well, when I found out that Shana had gone over to Jamaica and had a little girls trip with herself, honey, and she had used this trip as a way to increase her self-love, to work on her self-love, to work on loving herself, and to just have, a girl's trip. Immediately I'm thinking still got a groove back, but we'll that's not it. We'll talk about that. But I was like, this is exactly what you need to do. You need to go and you need to, all of us, right? Don't we just need a place to go and just chill and just love ourselves? Well, Shana is here with us. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. And then, of course, we'll get to her bio and all of that amazing stuff. In the meantime, go ahead and share the broadcast. So bringing Shana on. Yes. Hello, Shana.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you being here.
How do you pronounce it? Is it because I want to call you SYNOLVE? Like I have, like your name look like I need to put the O in front of the L. So it's SYNOLVE.
SYNOLVE.
Okay. And my name is, it looks like Shana, but it's Shana. So think
Shana.
of Ghana. Yeah. So think of Ghana. So this with the S instead of a G. But that's fine. But it's
yeah.
fine.
I'm so sorry. I am pronouncing it very Southern. So everything has the long A. Y'all.
No, people do it all the time because I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's not an uncommon thing. Yeah.
Shana.
Yeah. So think of Ghana, Shana.
Okay. And I should have asked you, Shana, because my name is definitely hard to pronounce. So that should have been the first thing that I asked you. so I apologize.
There's no offense over here. It's all good.
Oh, good. Well, you're such a sweet soul. So, with just such a beautiful spirit and a beautiful smile. Let me tell everyone a little bit about you. Shana is a first-generation American. She was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and her parents are from the beautiful island of Jamaica. I love it. Her parents always instilled in her that she can achieve anything in life. Shana holds a master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Richmond Graduate University and a bachelor's in psychology from Clark Atlanta University. Also, Shana has, I got to get the name right. Also, Shana participated in a collaborative book project with Nikki Woods as an Amazon best-selling author and award-winning author. They received the African American Literary Award for the book Shift. 20 women stories. 20 women share stories of strength, courage, succeeding against all odds. As a self-empowerment coach, Shana is empowering women to remember their wholeness and self-worth through self-love. Y'all, we love this over here because, for a long time, I did self-care Fridays. Then we were doing self-care Sundays, and then we were doing some self-care on Saturdays as well. So, I love this. Shana provides a high level of support for women who are always on the go, the professional woman, go-to person, and the boss chick. Overall, any woman who has a demanding lifestyle, oftentimes trying to hold everyone and everything together, can create burnout. Y'all know, we've been talking about that. Can we as Black women, can we as Black people just rest? I mean, we talk about that here on this channel. While supporting everyone, who is supporting you? Shana. Shana helps her clients to create a self-care plan and strategies on how to create more harmony within their personal and professional life. So join me for this amazing conversation, how to create self-care and self-love via travel, and specifically in Jamaica. But I realized and noticed that Shana's been traveling. She's been kind of globe-trotting here to Hawaii and other places. And so we're going to have this amazing, amazing conversation. Thank you, Shana, for being here today.
Thank you. And it's interesting when you reached out to me because just for the people who are listening, because I know we both follow Throp's channel, but we communicate. I've seen you like making comments in the comment section. So I think that's how just the interaction. So when you reached out to me, I'm like, oh, okay. And also, I know I followed you because of Thorpe, because y'all communicated a lot. And I saw one of your videos, like breaking up with America. I was like, oh, that's a very different take. So I've been following your channel ever since. because I found you on Thorpe's in the comment sections. I love being in the comment sections on YouTube because you never know who you will meet.
No, you don't. And I love being in the comment section too, because you meet some amazing people doing amazing things. And Throp has this unique mix of people who are either first-time Jamaicans or, moving. I consider myself first-time Jamaican. Okay, so that's what they're right. So people who are expats and moving, but also he has a great mix of people who are repats, like yourself, people who have parents or family members who are actually from Jamaica. And so I think this is just a great mix of people. And so everyone, kind of comes to learn. But yes, I love, and it's really one of those tips for growing your business and really growing your network, which is to communicate with people. This is like social media is really the new networking place, right? Mm-hmm. It's this new space to network. So other than being on the comments and in the chats, what are some of the things that you do for your self-care?
So one, I'm an introvert, right? So naturally, I like to spend, I enjoy my own company. So I'm a bookworm. I love to read. I like to, hang out with my friends. So whether like one-on-one or like in a small group, I like binging out on YouTube. Especially I love being in nature. So if I could, go outside, go to the park, exercising. And I'm a foodie, so I like to cook or go out to eat. So it's really the simple things that makes me happy. And like for me, like self-care is you just, making time for yourself, whatever the things that are unique to you that you enjoy. Because a lot of time people get caught up in the hustle and bustle and they don't take time for themselves, or they feel like they don't have time, or some people may feel guilty for making time for themselves, but they make time for everyone else, right? Like you have everybody else on your calendar, on your appointment, but you don't have yourself. So I just want people, just remind people to, bring back to balance and just really do that self-assessment, because when you re-energize yourself, then you could be able to pour from the overflow when you're filled up with your cup. Because it's hard to pour when your cup is empty.
Absolutely. I am a proponent of that, pouring from the overflow, because so many times we pour from a space of emptiness, and because we're empty, then we aren't able to really fill up anyone else. We aren't able to really pour into anyone else. Another, thing is when you're too full. Sometimes we're too full, like everything. And so that for me, this is why journaling and those things are so important, because then you can really, as you're going through and you're journaling, then you can then figure out where your overflow exists and pour from that space. So I love that. I absolutely love that. And I that was my question. What is self-care? Because a lot of people, when they think of self-care, they immediately think of like going to the spa and getting their nails done or getting a wax or something. Yeah. But that was my question. Like what is real self-care, and what does self-care really mean to you?
Right. Well, the things that you just mentioned, like getting your hair and nails done, like that's a form of self-care, right? As my mentor said, that's self-pampering, right? And self-care is just really recharging yourself in a way. You know what I mean? Like you really doing things that are productive, that's gonna promote well-being, whether that's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, right? So it's really like, for me, it's really like self-care would be like a timeout for yourself. Right? But not, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't involve like self-pampering, but just really your relationship with yourself, being reconnected, right? Because if you're always out there, when do you have time for you? When do you have time to think? You know, and
Yeah.
sometimes whether you could easily get lost in your work, in your career, in your relationships, right? And those things are great, but sometimes, and also I'm a therapist too, right? So I'm trying to like go more into my coaching space. And oftentimes people seem they kind of felt they're losing themselves, right? Because there's a disconnect. But if you be still and really tune in with you, just do an assessment. Like, what are some of the things that really like filled you up that you've gotten away from that you don't do anymore, right? Because maybe, oh, I have children, or I don't have children, or I have a family, I don't have a family, So really, honestly, Synolve, is really, and that's a question I would ask an individual because it's unique to that person, right? Like, how would they define it? But really, it comes down to just making time for yourself, making yourself a priority, not in a way that's selfish per se, but you need to bring it back into balance.
Yes, I love that
Or you know
because
what? Not balance, harmony. Harmony. All
harmony.
right. Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. We get out of harmony, and I am an introvert. Most people don't realize I am an introvert. I am very shy. My husband is the people person. My husband is a people person. When we go to parties or we go out in social places, I'm either like stuck like glue right by his side, or I am maybe the life for about good 10-15 minutes, and then that's it. Like, that's, you need to come when I come when I first get there, because after that my energy is gone. And sometimes I will even just, before, if we're early, because my husband likes to be early, if we're early before an event start, I may go sit like by myself. And it's not that I'm being antisocial. I just need to save up the little energy that I got until, and it's not about, people are like, oh, well, you got to eat, drink water, you got to eat, you got to do, is no, it doesn't have anything to do with that. I am just an introvert.
Right. And for those who are listening, I have my counselor hat on, just to, because sometimes, like, on a surface level, like, people think like, oh, introverts are shy and extroverts are like out there, which is true, but the core definition is like how we charge our batteries, right?
Right.
So that will fall into the self-care. So people who are extroverted, they need like people and connection, right? Introverts, like, we good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a whole lot. I think it's just how we are socialized differently. So I tell people like I'm a social introvert, because when people see me, I look like very, but I don't really care for like social media. But I know it's part of the thing you have to do. So I know, like, if I'm hanging out with friends, I prefer like one-on-one or like small groups that I'm with. And like yourself, like, if I'm going somewhere, like, I'll have to mentally prepared, and when I come back home, I need some time to like recharge, right? So like someone who's extroverted, if they're like home all the time, that could drive them nuts. Like, they need to be out. So, and all of this does ties into self-care, right? So depending on your personality type, you need to know like what self-care looks like for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. And now when I say that I'm shy, like, I am shy, not for the introversion, not
Right.
for the portion of being an introvert. I am just naturally pretty shy. I always say that I'm glad my mom named me SYNOLVE, because literally the person that you see like on camera that's like talking to everybody and having fun, that's Sai. You always say you got, Sasha Fierce. That's, my other
Your alter ego.
right, that must. But if you are just with me, by myself, I'm pretty, and social media, I think, has helped me for me, like, this is my personal counsel session. But anyway, social media has helped me because, because it allows me the ability to kind of talk when I want to chat, and then take the breaks that I need. So I'm able to only be on when I need to be on. I think that's one of the good things with social media. Although you don't need to. It's all about harmony, not balance, but it's all about harmony, right? So in that way, social media has been helpful. But what is some of the things? Milton has some good things. First, he said, "This is hubby." Hubby says, "Congrats on your book, Shana." And then he said, "I believe that it starts with changing your mindset to understand the importance of self-health." What do you think about that?
Yeah, everything begins with mindset, right? And I believe that I'm trying to see. I'm wearing my coaching hat, not my clinical hat. But either way, everything starts with mindset, right? So in order to, as it relates to self-love, right? So my definition of self-love is loving yourself. What is it? Loving yourself unapologetically and unconditionally, right? And a lot of that has to do with one's self-image, right? So depend how you see yourself. So if you have a low self-love, you're not going to see yourself in the best light, right? And how you see the world, right? How you think people may perceive you, how you perceive yourself, right? But when you grow in self-love, it elevates your consciousness, right? So you see yourself the way how God sees you, right? So I know, like, I don't want to go too deep, but pretty much it's like high level self-love looks very different because there's different levels to self-love. So, and a lot of people don't love themselves, right? And sometimes they may engage in self-destructive activities or enter a certain relationship that doesn't reflect their worth, right? But sometimes through life experiences they could get their own personal wake-up call, or they may reach out to someone like a coach or a therapist, because some people may not be self-aware to know like certain dysfunctions or how they see themselves is not
Healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy, right? Because if they grew up in a certain environment of like dysfunction or certain behaviors, if it's been normalized, they think that's normal, unless they have a contrast to that. They're like, hold up, you know what I mean? How come or you may see it in your own personal family dynamics. So I hope I'm not going too much because I have the coaching and the clinical thing running in. So, but yeah, so everything does start with your mindset, really how you perceive yourself, how your self-image. So the more you grow in self-love or learn how to love yourself and learn of certain like patterns, I could go so much deeper, but that's like the core, the gist of this mindset. Everything belongs with your mindset. And
how do you if you realize that you are not in a good space, and your mindset really needs to change around self-care and self-love,
right?
What are some of the tips or things that people can do?
Well, it's gonna play out in your behavior, right? So whatever you're thinking in your mind, right? Because no one can't see your mind, but like your life is gonna reflect that, right? So if there's a aspect in your life that's like struggling, it's not working, that's probably like an area you want to improve, then that's one way to kind of start, right? You can identify where you need to grow to elevate in that area. So say like if you're always struggling with money, right? Go backwards. Like, what are your beliefs about money? What is your relationship with money, right? Is it because you don't have a job that has an area for growth, right? Or are you operating in abundance versus a scarcity mindset? You know what I mean? So I think the easiest way to know like that is whichever area in your life that you're struggling with is probably the part that's not being nurtured. And that's probably that needs to be nurtured, or you need to give attention to that, if that makes sense.
It does. So how do you nurture it? How do you, if there are people here, because the pandemic has happened and there's so much, we've been trapped inside, we've been away from work, we've had kids not in school.
Yeah.
How do you cope with, and money's tight, because some jobs have, been shut down or gone out. So if there are money issues, how does a person begin the work that they need to do?
Right. So when the pandemic hit, the private practice that I work for, like we was getting calls like, yeah, a lot of the calls that came in interesting, right? Because of quarantine, because of the lockdown, a lot of people said the reason why they reached out to therapy because they were like isolated, they had time with their thoughts, right? So a lot of things started to resurface within themselves, like things that probably happened in childhood or some relationship they ignored and they didn't want to address, that this was the opportunity. They took the opportunity to reach out. So my view of it is a little bit different in terms of to me, I see the, what's the word, like a spiritual side to it. Like I see the pandemic because of the people that come in, like the quarantine, I see it as a timeout. A lot of people had to be on timeout to really reflect, right? Because they were going to work all the time, because they were doing this, right? And sometimes some marriages was like a testing ground. Like some marriages didn't make it and some strengthened, right? So it kind of like slowed people down to be still. Like everyone was forced to be still, even though what happened, it wasn't great, but it forced people to look within a lot. So my perspective of that is a little bit different. So it caused them to reach out to seek help, or to go further within, to kind of reconnect with the things that they were out of touch because they got caught up in work or being busy all the time. So I don't know if that answered that, but that's how I wanted to answer that, because I think it forced people to look within more.
No, I agree, because I felt like this, the pandemic was a blessing in disguise. There was this opportunity, and it, continues to be this opportunity to reset, right? To reset your life, to reset yourself in a way that is positive. But sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees. It's hard to see the blessing.
Yeah, a lot of people did struggle with, the anxiety, right? Because of the uncertainty, because like we don't know what this thing is, how long we're gonna be in the house, right? I know people like myself who are introverted, like we get to stay home, like cool, right? Like, for some people, right? So
yes.
So my responses are not gonna be, cookie cutter for the most part, but a lot of people struggle with anxiety or depression, because sometimes the things, because they were like in isolation, right? Probably a lot of things that were unpleasant that they were dealing with, whether current or past, it was hard, right? Because now I gotta look at this thing. Now I gotta deal with this, right? If we're talking about like with money stuff, you could see like, okay, I probably need to cut back on, I'll probably need to get a better job. You know what I mean? So for me, how I view things is more from an optimistic lens, but how I help people, I try to help them, to see what's the silver lining of this, right? And not to be dismissive. There's ways how I do it, but help them to really accept what's happening, right? Because we don't want to sugarcoat stuff. Like, this is something we can't control, right? And I've told clients that we ain't getting back to no new normal. So you could just like so what's the normal you want to create? Right? Like this is a clean slate. This is a blank canvas. Well, how do you envision you want to see yourself? What's the life you always envision? Let's start from there, right? So initially I acknowledge that, but then I want to move forward. Okay, how can this, be an opportunity for you to create the life that you really want? Because the job that you didn't like that job anyway, a lot of them, right? You didn't like
Yes.
that job. You probably wanted to spend more time with your children anyway, right? You know what I mean? So when you
Yep.
kind of look at things like that, you didn't want to be in that relationship anyway. So it ended. You know what I mean? So I tried to put that spin on it, because at the core of it, like, yeah, I ran out of words. But I think you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, you hit right on, because at the core of it, at the end of the day, you have to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? Where is my life going now? And is this a sign or opportunity for me to do something different? I know with me, I buckled down into doing more YouTube. I mean, for me, and really trying to really turn that into a business, and really trying my hardest to sort of figure it out. And what makes me happy, doing what makes me happy. And so we get caught up so many times, and hubby and I, Milton and I, are working through this video, which will go out today. Come heck or high water. But on the American dream, we get so caught up on this American dream, and then when we no longer and caught up in our identity of work. So then when things change, or we have the simplest change in our lives, big or even small, like the pandemic, then all of a sudden our identity and tied to working 16, 17, 20 hours, a day, and not being home, not getting rest, not getting sleep, suddenly, and being a top income earner, all of the things, like not being able to go shop and buy the newest purse, and all these things that we have gotten ourselves caught up in this rat race, in this hamster wheel, then we lose our sense of identity. And it's so much of it is tied to things that are external, outside of ourselves, rather than internal.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention, that if anything that was probably like challenging for most people is dealing with grief, right? Because during this time, people probably lost a loved one and didn't have the opportunity to say, goodbye. So if anything, I would say, like, just helping people to navigate grief during that time. And just really supporting people in that way, like, during the pandemic, since we're in the same context with that. And also, to your point with the opportunity, when I was in school, and to get my master's, and we read this book about family resilience. In the beginning of the book, it had the symbol of the yin and yang. So I think in Chinese, the yin and yang symbol, like for crises, is danger and opportunity. It symbolizes. So when we're in a crisis, it's danger, right? But it is also opportunity as well. And it strengthens one's resilience, right?
Say that again.
If I can remember what I
said. The yin and the yang. I love that.
Right. So when I was in school, talking about like family resilience, right? Or like crises. So in Chinese, the symbol yin and yang, when we talk about crises, means danger, like I forgot which one, danger and opportunity equals crisis. So of course, when this happened, the pandemic, everyone was in a state of crisis, right? Because it's, felt threatened, but also in a crisis is not only danger, but there's also opportunity, right? And that could strengthens one resilience as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
No, that is perfect, because I love this. I love the yin and the yang, and the resilience, and family resilience, because we as families work through a lot. My husband and I both had COVID, and so we had Delta, which of course Delta was one of the most deadly Well, I was forget. Well, to date. So whatever they're called.
Variants, yeah.
Variants.
I don't keep up no more. I'm not in that bubble. I'm in my own little bubble. I don't even know. I'm like, we still in the pandemic? We still got COVID?
That needs to be an Instagram post. We said, oh, that was perfect. That was perfect. But so I got whole stuff going on. I got all the post-COVID syndrome brain going on. My hubby and I call it COVID brain, and I got menopause. So look, I'm just saying words. Y'all need to help me. If you see them floating, just catch them and pull them. But and we were very afraid when we were afraid, but we were calm because we had started researching and we had started doing some things immediately, taking vitamins and herbs, and we were doing things right. In addition to everything that the doctor says, okay? So I'm not a doctor. I just play one on YouTube from time to time, and sometimes on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, okay? But I'm not. I was a medical writer in my former life, but okay. So, but one of my biggest losses, other than my, from time to time, having the brain fog and the memory and all of that, which lingers, okay? It's like for real. I lost my hair, and I lost my hair. So when you see the pictures and the thing, I would wake up because only 20% of people, I say only 20%, but 20% of people lose their hair in the 3rd and 4th months after they recover. So I'd wake up and it would be laying on the bed beside me, right? I'd do like this, and the whole section would just come. And even though that we lost friends, we've lost family members, and it was difficult to go through. Our kids had to take care of us. It was difficult, and still is difficult. Hubby still won't let me color my hair because it's growing back. It was real short, so he wants me to. It's like, don't put it in, don't do anything. Don't put it in.
Your hair is beautiful.
You're sweet. Thank you. So, so you go through those things, but I had to come up with a whole new identity. And I would look in the mirror, like seriously look in the mirror and be like, who is this? Like, who is this person, staring back at me? Because I haven't seen her since I went, I did the big chop. So I was like, I don't even know who she is. And so it's difficult. It can be difficult finding a new identity. Illness itself is stressful enough, but the pandemic itself brings about this idea of having to create for yourself a new identity.
Yeah, and I would say when I went to Jamaica, that was like, we're in 2022, right? So that was in 2021. Because was it 2020? The January 2021. Yes. And one of the reasons why I needed to take that trip to Jamaica for self-care, because back in 2019, my mom passed away unexpectedly. And I'm so glad I had an opportunity to be with her, because prior to that, I lived in Hawaii for 5.5 years. And when I returned back to Atlanta in 2018, I was staying with my mom, getting my, self back together, to, get back on my feet. And the year that she passed in 2019, I was so glad that I returned, living in Hawaii, because, living in Hawaii is such, beautiful. But if I was still living there and my mom passed, I don't know what my outcome would look like. But as I had those few months, with her, and during that time, dealing with grief, like 2019 was hard for me. And even like 2020 is still navigating. Like I've been like going, because remember, like I just moved back from Hawaii to Georgia, right? So I'm still like readjusting. And then less than a year of returning, my mom passed away, dealing with that. And looking for work, and all of that. So like 2019 was a hot mess. So I guess for me, when the pandemic hit, it didn't really like phase me because I felt like I went through like a, you know, personally for me, like a loss, you know what I mean? Like I could not handle it, but like, you know, losing a parent, that level of grief. So when the pandemic hit, you know, I thought I was making traction. So it was like another setback. So for me, I needed to go to Jamaica because like I felt like I didn't have time to just, you know, with the grief and all the constant changes, I needed to like get away. And my dad lives there, and I haven't seen him like in, you know, 6 years. So I spent like a month in Jamaica when I went. So just, you know, visiting my dad. I wanted to see certain family members, but I couldn't due to COVID, especially my grandmother. But overall, I just needed that self-care, you know, and just dealing with the grief that I didn't really properly, you know, just to really just have that disconnect, you know. So, and it was just great just having time with my dad and reconnecting to my roots. And, you know, it was just good just to be around water and palm trees and Jamaica eating good food. I needed that because 2019 for me was hell, you know, losing a mom. And then with the pandemic, I was like, I need to go.
I need to go. I got to get out of here. I understand. My mom passed away, and even though my mom didn't raise me, when my mom passed away, first of all, I started dreaming about her. So spiritually, but I didn't know it was her. I didn't know it wasn't, she didn't look like herself in the dream, but I was dreaming about this person, and they were traveling all over. They were just traveling everywhere in this little car, which my mom doesn't drive. So I definitely didn't recognize her. And she was traveling everywhere, and she was just in her little car, and she was just trying to find, you know, she was trying to find someone to kind of talk to. And it was clear this person was going to pass away. I still never put it together, but my husband had to go on a business trip, and it put us close enough to Kentucky. My mom was in Indiana. It put us close enough to Indiana where we could, I've forgotten now, it's like 2 hours, 4 hours, I can't remember, but it put us close enough to be able to go visit her. And I hadn't seen her in years. My grandmother had raised me. And I was glad, like you, I was so glad that I followed that sort of impetus from spirit to go visit, to go. And sometimes if you just listen to what spirit tells you to do, and it may seem like it's uprooting like your whole life, you know, to do certain things that spirit is saying to do. But I went and stayed, you know, and stayed a couple of days. Hubby and I stayed a couple of days, and I was able to do some of the things that she needed. She actually was mentally ill. She had suffered from schizophrenia and dissociative disorder.
Oh, DID. Yeah. I think they updated the word. Yeah.
It's been updated. I like right.
It was multiple personality disorder. Then the upgrade is the dissociative identity disorder. Yeah,
that's right. And because when it was multiple personality disorder, she really didn't quite fit into the multiple personality. I mean, not quite. Not, there were days when it was like, yeah, you're a whole different person today, but that's all right. Aren't we all? But and so, but I was glad because there were things that she needed. She has have family there, a brother and sister who took care of her. But there were things that, me being the oldest, that there were just things that I did. And it was amazing because all of these things started to come for free. I replaced like her whole bedroom, replaced living room. And people were just giving me things. They were just like neighbors. And I was like, oh, you know, one lady was like, well, come in my house. What? She was moving. And I was like, oh, she was putting things outside. And I said, well, hey, can I, since you put these things outside, can I look through? Is that okay with you? She was like, sure. And so we were, gathering stuff and moving it back. And she said, come in my house and pick anything you want. She gave me bedding. She gave me linen. I mean, new stuff. And I was able, because we were going to the stores, like I was going to get all this new stuff for my mom. And we ended up getting everything for free. Right time, right place, right moment. But I always remember that as a memory, because had I not gone and had I not had that last moment with her, had I not been able to do these things with her and for her, because she took us and we got to see all of her friends and all her different hangouts, which were pubs, let's just say. So we got to see all her buddies, which had a few rounds. So, but it was so much fun. It was really like, if you're watching Girlfriends, it was really like that. And I got to have that opportunity. So I am so glad that you got to have that opportunity with your mom. That is beautiful. And that's self-care.
Yeah. And it was interesting because I lived in Hawaii for 5.5 years. So I think when I moved to Hawaii, this is how all of this started, my self-love journey, and turn it into coaching, right? So back in 2012, that's when I had graduated grad school. And I had I had a heart to work with like the military population, or I didn't know what capacity in terms of mental health, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, okay, I had like different places like I wanted to like go, and I had like Florida, Texas, whatever. But then I was like, well, where? Well, maybe DC. 'Cause in my mind, I'm thinking like the national, there's more higher chances to work with that population. I wasn't sure. So one day, out of the blue, a friend from like high school saw like my graduation picture, and they lived in Hawaii. And when we reconnected, they were like, oh, they were going to school for the same degree as Imagine Family Therapy. And I was like, oh, maybe I should put Hawaii on the list. I was just saying it just to say it, right? But I couldn't get it was just like, I try to like dismiss it, like, nah, like Hawaii, the first one, it's too far, it's expensive, you know what I mean? But then I was like, but the palm trees, like, because Hawaii is like a vacation destination place, right? But it was just like tugging at me. So I was like, you know what? And my friend at the time, he mentioned like, oh yeah, because there's all branches of service here. I'm like, Hawaii is small, and maybe my opportunities will be better than like a DC. Yeah. So for me, long story short, moved to Hawaii. Within the 6 months, I made that decision. But I made that decision when I was in Jamaica again. It seems like when I need to make decisions, like Jamaica is like my thing. Like when I'm playing like with like major life stuff, I'm noticing a pattern. Like I get my, I don't know, Jamaica, that's where I get my information. I don't know. So long story short, I went to Hawaii and everything just worked out. Because mind you, I made this decision within 6 months. And I just knew, like, it was just like an inner knowing, like, I need to, like, be here. And people like, so you're going to go, you don't have a job lined up yet? And I was, like, so, like, confident. Like, no one could not, like, shake me or tell me anything different because I would have, like, dreams. I remember one time I was going to church one morning, and there's this car that jumped in front of me, like, cut me off. And usually I would be upset. But kid you not, the license plate said Aloha. And it had the sticker of the Hawaiian Islands on it. So I kept getting like confirmation, like externally, like in my dreams. So, and I think that's why I had that confidence, like it's time to go. I would have dreams like of the mountains and with like World War II, like veterans that live in Hawaii. It was just like weird. So, but I just got like constant confirmation that was undeniable, like that's where I need to be. And I didn't know like Hawaii, because like it's geographically it's very isolated. Like it was kind of like another timeout. right?
Yeah.
So remember, I hit a milestone. Like I graduated grad school. So now what? I took this big leap of faith, moving to Hawaii. And I was like, if it don't work out, I just buy a one-way ticket to Atlanta. But everything fell into place so beautifully because it was still like a week before I bought my one-way ticket. I still didn't have a job lined up. So probably like the week of me moving, I got a phone call for an interview. I was like, sure. And then after the day of that interview, after that interview, I got a phone call for another interview. So I'm like, all right, so did I have to be in Hawaii to get these phone calls? And then that week after I accepted a job offer, my income tax came in, and that was over like $3,000. So I was set. So like everything like fell into place, and I was confident this is where I needed to be. So I didn't have to worry. I just really had to trust the process. So yeah, it sounds crazy, it looked crazy, but I felt like this is where I needed to be because that's when my self-love journey began. And I found that's when I had started working with a like love coach because like I said, like I had time out because I was so focused on, you know, school and career. But in the process, in terms of like a love life, I kind of neglected and I wanted to activate it that, you know, I wanted to experience that more. And when I was working with a love coach, that was the hopes, but really I found the love for myself during that process. And so I was a client that became a coach. And so that's how my gave birth to my business.
I see. Now,
I know I went all over.
No, that was good. No, I love that because I really follow spirit. I follow, the ancestors and intuition. And so when I feel like I'm being called or led to something, I really intentionally try to press in and go forward into that, even though it may look crazy to someone else. But I've learned to sort of follow. When I interviewed Throp, I didn't know I knew just from watching him, about him and him, about his business and what he was doing in his family. But I didn't really have a grasp on just how much Throp and me interviewing him would actually have a benefit for me personally, because I've obviously gained a new friend, but I've also met you and so many other people, and it really allowed me this opportunity by just saying yes. Okay, the idea comes up, interview this person or talk to this person. and it confirmed for me a lot of things Dr. Throp says in the video about my interview style and so many other things. It confirmed for me that, I mean, he was sitting, he was, being so kind, but the things he said were very specific. And I had heard those things before from hubby, but I was trying not to pay attention because I was like, medical writing, all of this, not journalism. And so when you were talking about those confirmations, and I feel that with, talking with you, because I probably, after having COVID, needed to talk to a therapist.
Is this your confessional?
Right? So I'm just amazed at how spirit kind of put this knitting this together. You know what I'm saying? It's continually knitting this together because I really hadn't talked to anyone professionally about, the death of my mom, going through all the things that we went through with COVID. And it led me when, my whole journey, because my mom didn't raise me, but led me to writing this book. And I'm saying that because I had to learn love in a different way. And I was pursuing, when you said that about you pursuing love. And so you had a coach. I was, because of, some of the deficits that were in my own life, I had to really reach out to spirit to ask, how do I didn't have the best, right? I didn't have the best foundation. I've been married now 30 plus years, but my grandmother, who I love dearly, I talk about all the time. I know she's here. Her spirit is, she's one of my angels. She's always with me. But my grandmother had been married 5 times, so I didn't have, I didn't come from. And this is no shade. This is just saying I didn't have the skills. And I realized that. And I talked to my husband about that before we got married. Of course, his parents have been married for a long time, over 50 years. Over 50 years. Well, 50 years. And so I had to learn. And I sat down, especially when my kids were kind of young, and I started writing this book because it was my way to sort of document that, to sort of walk through how did I find love? How did I come to love? I tell the story how I met my husband at Wendy's. I was not looking for, I didn't even want to go. I didn't even want to go to Wendy's, first of all. I was going to meet a friend from Batesville, and I could hear Spirit say, go to Wendy's, right? And people say creator, God, whatever you call this amazing, great energy that is within all of us. And so I can just feel the Spirit saying, you need to go to Wendy's. I passed by the first exit, and I was getting ready to pass by the second exit. And I promise you, the car drove itself. To this day,
the car drove itself to Wendy's.
It is like one of those moments where I could feel myself on down the road, but I was literally in the parking lot. You know what I mean? And I could not figure. I'm like, wait a minute. And I sat in the car for a while. I was like, wait, the world.
So you had the first self-driving car. You had the first Tesla.
I did. And I get out eventually, go in. I was like, I am not even hungry. Like, I'm not even hungry because I'd eaten right before I left out of the door. I'm not hungry. I get in and I'm looking around, literally looking like, what is in here that you want me? I walk in with a whole attitude. What is in here that you want me to see that you just driving my whole car? I get in line, this guy's in front of me. And it's kind of funny, but this guy's in front of me, and he's the guy smelled right, and so my husband's in front of him, right, and another guy. So the guy in front of us, he gets up to the register, and the manager says to him, "What would you like?" And he gives him just a whole bag full of hamburgers and all kinds of stuff. And he was homeless. And so he gives it, and the guy didn't pay, and he goes. And I'm like, I'm like, I don't even want to be in line. My husband looks back at me and he says, well, is it your turn to buy? Because we're both thinking, everybody in the line, seeing, the homeless gentleman, which I still probably think was an angel. But, and, my husband looks back at me, it's like, is it your turn to buy or is it mine? And I'm like, sir, no, this is not my husband peeking into me. But anyway, so I was like, sir, no, this is not happening. So he asked me my name. I have a fake name, right? I had a fake name at the time. Shaniqua. I could not even think of the name. And my phone number was 777-9311. Y'all know the song? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This may be before your time.
Is it Prince?
Huh?
Is that a Prince song?
I don't know. It might be. I think so. It might be. And so I couldn't even think of that number. All I could think of was my name and my number, which he probably thought was fake, SYNOLVE. And we've been together since 1991. All because I listened, but I was on this love journey. I was literally on this love journey. So when you said that, I was on this journey of love, and what I ended up doing was really fixing myself. And
not fixing, finding.
Right, finding. But some stuff was broken, so I don't know the word for that. Some pieces were a bit broken, and I needed, this opportunity to allow myself to heal, to heal.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're going through the pandemic, and you're talking to people, and all of this other stuff is sort of surfacing and coming up? What are some of the ways that people people can heal, and kind of, if they're going, remembering traumas from their childhood or from other times, what are some of the things?
Yeah. Well, I would tell whoever's listening, if there are some heavy things in your life that you haven't addressed, you haven't spoken to someone, I would strongly consider going to therapy, right? And especially if the majority of your platform are Black people, I think we're getting a little better, like the stigma, like therapy, like I don't want nobody in my business, right? So even if people are not open to therapy, like the formal process, but at least, or a coach or something, or start somewhere, right? Or probably start journaling, start reading books, right? You need to start doing something. So if you're just being by yourself and talking about your problems, like, okay, do you want a solution? I'm sure everybody, you and the dog, the cat, everybody knows, your problem, right? And sometimes you probably go to a loved one or a family member, they probably do care, but they may not be equipped, right? So if you want to get to the next level in your life, you really have to make an investment in yourself, whether that's, going to therapy, right? Or start journaling. I would say start journaling, and that would be like first, right? And easy, right? Because you could pick up a pen and a paper, right? And just really engage in your thoughts, right? So even if you don't know what to say to yourself, just start writing what's on your mind. Because the thing is, because if you're always in your head and worrying, it's a cycle. So at least if you write it out, you're getting it out. Like you kind of like decluttering your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're always worrying, overthinking, and this and that, and don't have an outlet for that, right, to really be self-expressive, then sometimes people could suppress that, right? And then you wonder like, oh, why I'm depressed or angry, because you're not expressing yourself. So if you're not ready to speak to a stranger or a therapist, start with yourself. And I'll say a journal, because everyone could do that. Pick up a pen.
Everyone can do that. Everyone can pick up a journal and a pen. Everybody can do that. And everybody can check out Shana on her website and on social media, because I've left all of those links below.
And also, on my I haven't put it out yet, but I do have a self-love glow up journal. So it's not the physical copy yet. So it's for download. So how I curated the journal is for people who's a beginner, or if you're a novice. So it has journal prompts, and I have different sections of self-image, self-care, your relationship with money, health and wellness, and so, but it's each section is a journal prompt to kind of get you engaging in your thoughts. So that way you could start practicing writing, journaling. So I think I shared the link to you as well.
You did.
Yeah. So that's one way. If people can't work with me, on a private one-on-one, at least, you
can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can set up appointments with you.
Yes. So on my website, you could just email me and I could send you a link, because I am in the middle of like rebranding. So I know right now, Shana Love Coaching, but I'm just gonna not shorten it, but Self-Love with Shana. Because one of my mentors was like, you need to put your name in your branding. So I was like, well, Self-Love with Shana. So I'll be changing. So that's gonna be across all social media sites pretty soon. But so yeah, you could check me out on my website or email me if you wanna I could send you a link for like a 15-minute discovery call and see if we're fit. And just to make clear, like even though I do have clinical training and clinical background, and I am an active therapist, coaching is not therapy. So for me, and that's one of the things I want to do the call, because I know I have the credentials, but like I may recommend, you probably need therapy right now, because like coaching is gonna be, I wear a different hat. So so I'm not.
So you have so during the day you're a therapist.
Right. So yeah,
Right.
daytime I'm therapist, at night I'm
Okay.
coach.
Okay.
And that's it. But I do, but I'm back to like really nurturing my coaching brand, because I left like, since my mom passed away, I kind of put it down. So I'm picking it back up again.
So what are the kinds of things that you work with people in your coaching practice, so people will know exactly what
Yeah.
they're
So
going through?
it's always gonna be so it's different from therapy, right? So it's gonna be anything related to self-care, self-love, right? So the direction that you read off, um, I've noticed, because I have a lot of people, especially like friends and colleagues who are entrepreneurs and things like that, and some it's very stressful, right? Or they're always in a career or business that they're pouring into people, right? And it's like high level, is very demanding, right? And they're doing all these things, but sometimes I'm the friend, or the person, and I see like they need support, too, like self-care, because like, yes, you're successful making all this money, but like, but are you taking care of yourself,
Yourself.
right? Because you may have the money, but are you making the time for
Ah,
yourself, right?
that's
To
good.
make the investment. You have everyone on your calendar seeing clients and this and that. Where are you? Because you could burn out from your business. You could
Yeah.
burn out, you know what I mean? So, and sometimes, especially like the road to the journey through entrepreneurship can be a lonely process too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I want to be one of those persons to, be a support in that space. If people who are like, in terms of the type of people that may fit the criteria, that will be, I guess, to give a little bit of a insight.
Very good. Now, are you working on a book?
Actually, so I'm working on a lot of things right now, because I'm in a business cohort. So
Hmm.
like this is a 4 6 weeks thing. So like I had stuff, but I'm learning that I was hustling backwards. So I
Mm.
think I need to start from the digital space first, and then so yeah, so I will have books out. And also I think I'm also looking to need, I see a bunch of squirrels on the trees. That's what I'm looking up there.
Oh, okay.
And especially what I'm noticing too, not refining my niche, but also people who are introverted entrepreneurs, because I'm one of those. And I feel like we kind of, how you navigate the marketplace looks very different being
Different.
in an extroverted world. So I may, I don't know, that's been something that's been coming up to me. So I think that might be a niche.
Mm. And I think so. Absolutely, because I find myself needing, or trying to navigate and trying to figure it out, and feeling lonely at times because I show up very differently from other people. When I kind of talked about this with Throp when I was researching, Throp, and I just interviewed yesterday Zoe Smith of the Exodus
I
Collective.
caught the tail end of it, but I need to go back and watch her, because of, yeah, she seemed very intriguing. I caught just the tail end of her interview
Yes,
yesterday.
she is. She's in Granada, and how I show up is I'm very. I don't come in saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm here." Like I'm just researching and I'm listening and 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 it's like by the time I'm here, and sometimes that's very different because people are so used to the out front, the right,
Yeah.
and I'm very different. Suzette says she fits into that niche as well.
Yeah, because one of the meetings I was in, because two of the ladies that were on the call, they because we were in this course for probably like for 3 weeks, and you're like, you know what, I'm coming out of hiding, to bring my voice forward, because I'm an extroverted entrepreneur too, and they got the help that they needed. So I think like little stuff like that, like because I allow myself to be seen and allow myself to be visible, it gave them the courage to like step forward. And that's another thing. So I'm thinking I don't know, I feel like I'm leaning in that direction, like my niche, to from being invisible to visible. Because for me, it took me, I think I could have been further ahead in my coaching. One of the reasons, if I was more visible like on social media, I don't like that. Like I could do email marketing, like this is cool, like this one-on-one type thing, like to do all of that, like I can't wait till I get to a place I could hire someone to like manage like my social media. I just want to coach. Like I could post, right? But to allow myself to be seen like on camera, and it's good too, right? Because it helps build that muscle. But I'm learning how um, we just navigate the marketplace differently as an entrepreneur, and you could still be in you know, leadership position and still have a commanding presence. It just look different, and that's okay.
And that's okay. It just looks different. I'm just noticing that our initials are the same, SC. So I digress. I'm sorry. I was like, wait a minute. Okay. But we navigate things differently. And I think that you definitely need to come back again. We need to gonna help you get those muscles going, because navigating social media, my master's is in communication, so digital marketing, PR, all that. And I had to take the classes to really figure out what I was doing intuitively, but it looks very different. But I also had to pull away from parts of my business. When I first started doing this, I tanked my whole YouTube channel because I was doing Africa content, and I love Africa. But when I started changing and figuring out, thinking, it was around the time my mom died, but I was thinking, oh, well, I kind of want to explore other areas. Okay. But I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what I was kind of feeling and trying to suss that out. And I needed a coach. You really do need a coach. You do. It's very important. But I, being an introvert, I really went deep within, much deeper within. And I kind of came off the channel and went by myself. So I didn't have the balance to know how to keep the wheel going and how to give myself the time that I need. And so in a way, I look back and I think, I'm glad you did what you did and you took the time. But I do sometimes feel like in coaching, for someone like me who's an introvert, you need, to figure out how to kind of keep things going. Even if you slow the bike down, just a little, the treadmill down, just a little. Even if I could have posted once a month or whatever to keep it going, and I didn't figure that out until later. Like, oh, I could have done this.
I could have automated all my stuff.
Right, I could have automated.
I could record and let it sing out.
I could have been doing podcasts.
You could be in Jamaica for a whole month with your videos going.
None of that came to mind. All that came to mind was put on a robe and sit by myself and with my notebook and my journal and just sort of write. And you do need need that time. The problem is that it's not balanced, harmony, right? You're not in a space of harmony. Self-care should be, I think, peaceful and restful. One is, when you're still like going, you're not able to rest because you're trying to figure things out. That can also do just as much damage. Entrepreneurial coaching itself is very important. And I have not seen anyone that really just focuses on introverts.
And I think because I think this was a new revelation to me, like this week, because I'm noticing like the other people that could relate. Because because even like certain things is so like extroverted, and I think that's why I probably didn't reach to the level of success I could have been, because I think I was doing things this way that wasn't in alignment of who I am.
Right.
So I need to get into alignment, you know. So yeah, I could still make these videos, but how can I do it in a way that's in alignment of who I am, right? That doesn't feel and there's a distinction, right? Like getting out of your comfort zone and stretching. I'm not talking about that, because I'm thinking, well, this person is doing it, I should do it too, but that don't work for me.
No.
You know what I mean? So, and I felt, and sometimes that I think it can mess with one's psyche too. Like you kind of get into this comparison thing. You think something is wrong with you and trying to conform into something that you're not naturally. But like, no, this is me. So let me create systems for myself that's going to work with me. So it doesn't have to feel. So when I think about cultivating a business or services I want to provide, it doesn't have to feel like a struggle. Like, no.
And a coach can help you do that. I mean, this is the whole thing. A coach like Shana can help you do that. And sometimes we, and you alluded to that with we as Black people, you have to be able to reach out to somebody else, because sometimes they're not they're not things that you can solve on your own. Luckily for me, my husband is a business coach, so we can kind of work through things together. The other thing is that we're married, so sometimes you don't always follow that advice.
You want that little separation. You have your own space.
Sometimes you just don't follow. You don't follow each other's advice. Now we're getting much better. We're really great at it, and I laugh about it, but there's no way that you could last 30 plus years of marriage. Constantly working through the communication and all of that, because it really is important. But sometimes you just need to get out of your own head and get someone else to kind of give you information.
And he's probably good for balance you out in terms of execution, because introvert, we like to be in our head. So he's going to help you to like put the action to the ideas and all that, because I'm that way too. So
yes, because I am definitely, I'm a Sagittarius, so my mind is always in the vision and in the stars. So my mind is looking forward. December babies period look forward. They're looking into the new year. They're always getting a peek, and so that's that. But as my husband says, that's my excuse for it. For everything. That's my excuse. Milton says he talked about changing mindsets, which was great. Why do you think people overlook self-care? Did we talk about that?
I mean, it goes into, because if they're taking care of other people or doing something else, and it's not I don't think it's unintentionally, they neglect themselves.
Right. Now, what do you think? What do you think about food? How does food fit into overall self-care? We're foodies over here. We love food.
Yeah. I mean, just the concept itself, regardless of what it is, like plug and play, right? You have to look at your relationship with food, right? Is it fueling you, or is it working against you, right? Or using food as
a drug?
Yeah, right. Like emotional eating, right? Or do you notice that your certain foods that you're eating, is it making you is it promoting health, or is it decreasing it, right? So you have the answers to yourself. So if if it's not elevating you, then that's the area, what, I need to pay attention. Maybe I need to probably look into releasing more weight. Maybe I need to change up my diet. Maybe I need to move more. Maybe I need to go for a walk, right? So the answer is already within. And I think my coaching style is just really helping people just to remember who they are, because sometimes you get caught up. You just need to be still and just remember. So for me, I'm a guy, so I'm not telling people. So yes, I know, like, understand like the branding of it, but like my process and how I coach it just really helped people just reconnect themselves and have a healthier relationship with themselves at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. Well, what tips do you have for men? Because I know we talked a lot about women, but be honest, of course, men have more issues than women. But who has? I think men hide things.
Yeah, I would say whatever I'm saying to like women, it's still like at the core, it's still applicable. It's just the function of how it manifests will look differently, right? So for me in my the clinical practice, I actually well, not out of all of my colleagues, I see the men, right? And I think especially specifically Black men in particular, um, from my observation, like working with them, just having the space just to talk, like something simple as that, right? And someone not feeling like judged, right? They have a place they could really express themselves or kind of like process things because they may not have that space to do it, right? And sometimes I think, especially in the Black culture, that's my opinion, y'all, men are socialized differently, right?
Yeah.
Well, men don't cry. Or that's in general, but I'm just saying, like, especially in the Black community, it's hypermasculinity could be you're not, if you cry, you just gotta thug everything out, right? You gotta be on all the time. Yeah. Right. So if you want to like cry or hug, you may be seen, it may not be true, but you may tell yourself because of what's being projected out there, right? So when I see the men that I have come, it's really just creating that space. So really like explore yourself, because sometimes they may not have the opportunity to do that because there's so much going on, and sometimes just to someone just to sit and listen to me, right? Because they may not be able to talk to their spouse or their mom because sometimes there's family dynamic stuff come into play, right? And that's why I said it earlier. Anytime especially when I see a Black male come into my space, I always celebrate them because I know like you coming here, that wasn't like an easy decision because of the stigma.
Right.
So yeah, and then just talking to someone, and sometimes I know for most men, they may have experienced that they were open to someone else, especially if a female, a woman in their life, they would think it's safe and they kind of like get shot down. It's like, and they close back up. So there's many layers to that, right? And then by default, I would say at least start journaling or just reach out to a therapist or a coach.
Important.
But because you need that space to talk to, because if you're not, you're always in here, right?
In your head.
And most men, for my anger is usually like a big thing, right? But if you have that space to like talk about things, or anger probably wouldn't walk around angry all the time.
Right. I mean, I'm just right because I agree. Milton says Milton is also a
His husband is funny.
He is. You just don't know. We are always cracking up. Milton is also a preacher, pastor, and so he does a lot of counseling. And during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, he was doing a lot of funerals. And so he going through that with people. And so he had to talk to people about grief a lot, getting a lot of phone calls and, even having to do some home visitations. He says, I often tell people that the stages of grief are real. Don't fight them. Embrace them to help yourself heal. 7, sometimes 9. It just kind of depends on where you're reading. How the anger, right? Men go through anger. That's one of those things. Grief is another, time when anger starts to pop up.
Anger. You're talking about the stages of grief,
right?
Yeah, I know. There's anger, depression, denial, acceptance. Can't remember the other one. But there's no order to it, and everyone grieves differently, and there's no timeline. Because I have people will come in, someone could pass away like 10 years ago, and now dealing with the grief because they didn't do it then. So it's a very complex thing.
It's very complex. So I think what we were talking about earlier, focus. So you're focusing on your rebranding. And getting people just to focus and put themselves first is very important. Extremely important. Tanika says, hello, I'm an introvert too. I hate having to conform to something that is not me.
And so with that, right? So if you see in yourself not to conform, then you have to ask yourself, if we're talking about like in a job, right? If you feel like you have to conform, you probably have to reevaluate. Is it time for you? You need to move into something that you're more aligned with, right? Because what's going to happen? You're going to hate going to a job that you hate every day. But how is that serving you? How is that self-love? You know what I mean? So if you want to be in alignment, maybe it's the time to reevaluate to see what that is. But yeah, sorry, Tamika, I didn't mean that, but I would just, just put it out there just to kind of like help people. So if you notice like you're coming against angst, that's a time to really like check in. Because our natural state of being is not conflict, is harmony.
Yes, I love that. Hello, Information Man Show. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Well, Edward is at Edmund. I'm sorry, my apologies. Edmund is asking, what's your opinion about men in the military?
I don't know. I would need more context because that's a broad statement.
That's a broad. Now, when you were dealing with men in when you were dealing with coaching or your practice, did you see a lot of men in the military? You said you wanted to do.
Well. Right now, I'm a clinical therapist. I'm talking about like now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so my coaching is really geared for women. But I guess I'll probably the best way for me to answer Edmund. So when I was in Hawaii, I did work with homeless female veterans, right? So I just work with women. So once a week, I did have an opportunity. I didn't work with the men; they were in a different location just for meetings. So I was around a lot of like the veterans. I mean, from World War II veterans up until like young. So I do have experience working with the veteran population. So it's hard for me to really answer your question because I'm not sure in the context what you're asking, male in the military, because I have, family members who were, my brother's a former Marine, my dad was in the Army in Jamaica, you know what I mean? So I don't know the context of your question. So I don't know how to answer.
You can share more. You definitely can share more in the comments below. Well, self-care is fascinating, and when you were talking about men and self-care, it's interesting because women and men are very different. Milton and I were talking about this yesterday. Sometimes for him, he can sit and just, when it comes to meditation, he can sit and just blank his mind. Like he can just, everything's blank. He can sit in the meditative moment and he's good. Me sitting in a meditative moment, I'm already an introvert, so I'm already in my head all the time. So then you're gonna send me to it's like when people will send an introvert to, time out when they were kids. It's like, this is.
And there's different forms of meditation, right? So there's walking meditation. So yeah.
And I was gonna say that I'm better with walking. I'm better when I walk. If I'm moving, then I can get out of my head. Yeah. So what are some of the, other things that you're saying or that you would recommend for helping people to just get in a quiet space and just relax for a moment? Journaling, I know, was one of those things.
It depends on the person. I would say I like being outdoors, right? So just being outdoors, going to the park. If you live somewhere near a beach, going to the beach, right? Like just being in nature in general, right? That's one. Getting out your house if that's something you don't do often. Moving your body, right? If you don't need a gym membership, you could just go out, walk the neighborhood. You know what I mean? So I think anything that's gonna like, because sometimes quiet, right? If your mind is quiet, you probably have to do something. Like,
Right.
engaging, if you have a creative outlet, if you're someone who like to listen to music, because sometimes that could quiet the mind while journaling. For me, uh, taking like a bath, like I like that, just relaxing the body, you know what I mean? So it's everything is unique to you, right? So those are some of the things I could think of that I do, right?
I
And then
love,
you can apply. Yeah.
yeah, I love a good herbal bath. So I love herbs. So
Yeah.
we grow herbs, but I've bought dried herbs and just mint and eucalyptus. Just depends on what's going on, or lemongrass, whatever it may be, chamomile in the bath. Of course, you got to clean all that up. But see, it's a good self care opportunity. Well, Shana, we are so grateful. I'm so grateful that you spent time with us today. And I know the audience is grateful for you answering their questions going through. And to those of you who are watching and who will be watching the replay, really appreciate you guys so much. So welcome and thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, no, let's see. Tanika has says, I do end up evaluating what it is I don't want to conform to, and I end up taking a stance for myself and redirecting myself to what's comfortable for me. What is me? What is for Tanika? That's
That's
beautiful.
good.
That's good. Well, now, as we, I've got all these links for you to connect with Shana below, to connect with her business, connect with her on social media. She's changing and rebranding her name. And so
Yeah,
all of
self-love
that
with
is below.
Shauna.
Say
So
that again, sweetie.
self-love with Shauna. That's what
Self
I'm.
Love with Shana. And so you can connect with her on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And look forward to all the amazing things. She's got a journal that you all can grab. I've left the link below. You can also email her if you want to set up a time to be a coach with her. Well, in these final moments, Shauna, please tell us your final thoughts and your final thoughts that you have for us as we move throughout this year and the upcoming years, how we can better practice self love.
I want you to reconnect to the things that you enjoyed doing that you no longer do anymore. Start to make time for those things.
Now, how can they? Because that was my main purpose. This, for bringing you on to talk about Jamaica. How can we include Jamaica in our self care? Because I'm just, and this is exploratory for husband, because I know my husband is listening, and I just need a coach or therapist to write me a prescription to Jamaica, so that so that I can go, for my need for my self care. What
When
are
is the
some?
last time you've been on vacation?
You know what? It's been a minute.
Okay,
Definitely
cool.
before the
So
pandemic.
you need to go then. There you
That's
go.
all I need to hear.
Mhm.
What is beautiful, so beautiful and so well, one, will you be moving back to Jamaica? And two, what's so beautiful and so amazing about Jamaica that everybody, including myself, wants to go? What is it about Jamaica?
Well, I recently got dual citizenship, so I don't plan on like moving long term. But I would say this, um, I guess part of it, like I don't really see myself being in this thing. I don't have to be here full time. So I would like to the way I would like to create my lifestyle. If I want to stay 3 months there, I have access to go back and forth. So of course the food, the weather, the people, I have family there. It's just relaxing. You just look at the beach, right? And that's anywhere, but I know you talk about Jamaica, but definitely the food, right? And ever since I was a little girl, like traveling back and forth to Jamaica, like it just feels like home. Like I'm home.
That's beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much, Shana, for being with us today, for sharing your wisdom, for being so generous with your time,
Yeah.
for allowing us to enter your world, this idea of coaching. Because, we don't often, as Black people, get to talk to a therapist or a coach. So,
and maybe this was the direction it needed to go. And that's us talking. Yes, it was supposed to talk about Jamaica, but it took its own. And you know what? And I just go with the flow, because sometimes I feel like that's when, because sometimes I could have something and it's actually this is what was needed.
Right. And we hit on Jamaica as well. But like you said, I learned this a long time ago. And some of the best interviews are the ones where you just allow spirit to do what it do. I always give this big framework and then just allow the creator to step in and do, because the creator knows who's listening now. He knows who's showing up now. He knows you and your heart. He knows my heart. And he knows everyone who's going to be watching in the replay. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's so important.
There is one thing, not this year, but in the near future, hopefully next year, I do see myself like with my vision with coaching. I do see myself like probably doing like coaching retreats, right? Or have like VIP days like with certain clients. Because I do have a friend, she is in Jamaica, and she has her own private villa that's oceanfront in Jamaica. And she may be a good person to connect with, because she's from here, but she has a villa in Jamaica. So that might be a thing. So I do, in the near future, of how to bring it back to Jamaica, I do see probably doing like retreats or doing VIP days with clients like in Jamaica, like and really practice self-care. So you have an excuse to come to Jamaica, but also really to like relax. Because sometimes most people don't know how to do that. Just book a ticket. Like, you have the money, make the time.
Make the time. Book the ticket. I love that. Make the time. Book the ticket. Man.
Yes. Like, that's your mantra. That's what you're going to talk.
Look, you see me. Look, I was looking for a pen. Like, that is good. Wait, hold on. Make the time. Make the time. Oh, write this down. Book. Lord have mercy. The ticket. So, Shana, when you see, that's what I'm saying. I love this. It's like explaining, when you get ready. Well, you're gonna come back before that, but that's okay. But when you get ready to launch this going away retreat, please
or VIP day. I would just have like one client. That'll be like a top tier, like, I'll probably have like a top tier coaching package, but it's just a one-on-one private session in Jamaica.
I love it. When you launch the program, I'm gonna need you to come back and talk to us about this, to give us all the details and lay out the whole coaching program and how all that works. Mm-hmm. And you and I, please connect me with your friend. I would love to interview her about her villa.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm writing it down, because you got me on WhatsApp, you got me on everywhere, so an email, so you can definitely. I would love that.
Yes. But thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you found what I said was helpful in some way, because sometimes I could be in my head and feel like I was going all over the place. I could be self-conscious, but hopefully you got something out of this. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shana. Big hugs. It was amazing. Have a beautiful and amazing day.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Guys, wasn't this amazing? This was amazing. Shana is absolutely a phenomenal coach and self-love, self-care coach. And she's also an amazing therapist. So yeah, I love that about her. Her coaching program, which is what she's doing for private clients, is something that you definitely should consider. We all, especially if you are an introvert, if you're a busy person on the go, she works with women. I think her, the work that she does is also applicable to men, but hey, she did ask me, but I'm just joking. But it's really good stuff, right? Like she's been here today. And so go in the description. Please go in the description, read the description. And if this sounds like you, if you're busy on the go, if you're the boss, if you are creating a new business or a new opportunity, please get the coaching and the information that you need. Get the information that you need to be successful. You're going to have phenomenal success. It can set you up for phenomenal success, and you can reach heights higher than you've ever known by invoking the power of a coach. And I can tell you that firsthand from having a coach in my own life, who for me is Milton. And so, Shana, y'all, please forgive my southern accent. Shana is absolutely amazing, and you have seen that today, just in talking with her. She has a beautiful coaching opportunity in coaching business, but she also has an amazing, beautiful spirit, and she's kind, and she's loving, and she's caring, and she wants the success that you want in your own life. And so I love her style of just listening and allowing people to get out of their coaching and out of their business, out of their time with her, the things that they need. And she bases your needs, as she mentioned, she bases those things on you, on what's coming up for you. There are no cookie cutter ways to or approaches to success. And so I love that she is really attuned to and in tune with creating and helping people to create for themselves these amazing opportunities and helping people to work through the things that they need from within, because it all comes from within. Tanika says, this is a season for that. Getting back to what you used to do that you stopped doing, right? And I believe that should be the theme for this year. I believe that as well. Thank you, Shana. Thank you, Shana. So now this was a good live. I appreciate that. Milton is saying, great conversation. This is awesome. I love you guys so much. I really do. I appreciate you being here with me for this conversation and supporting Shana. Please go over and support her on social media. Visit her website. And if you find that you are in need of coaching, please consider working with Shana. Especially if you check that list, you're a busy person, you're on the go, you're busy, busy, busy. If you want a top tier coaching program that is going to allow you to have a one-on-one session in Jamaica in a villa, hey, look, what can I say? You need to connect with Shana. All right, guys, I love you guys so much. I appreciate you so much. I am going to take a small nap. I worked until 5 o'clock this morning, so Mama is in need of the Queen is in need of a small nap. Okay, I was working on something, and sometimes I just get consumed, but I'm excited. In the meantime, in between time, go out and check out my book, Love the New Currency. You can support me over on Buy Me a Coffee so I can continue to bring amazing guests just like Shana, just like this one today. If you haven't checked out my other broadcast, go out and check out my broadcast with Zoe Smith from the Exodus Collective. I talked with Zoe yesterday, and talked about all things in Grenada. And I have to say Grenada, y'all, because there's a Grenada that is in Mississippi that's not too far from me, and so I get all kind of confused. But anyway, so Grenada, that's my word. All right, and I'm sticking to it. Amazing conversation. If you want to move to Grenada or the Caribbean, please check that out. I mentioned Throp, who is in the Grill, Jamaica, business person. He and his family own Travelers Beach Resort, which is another great place to stay. Check them out as well. Throp and check that video out because it's absolutely amazing. You'll probably catch Shana live tomorrow with Throp. We'll be in the comments. We'll be in the comments. I've done several other interviews around the Caribbean. So Local Mazel, Kwame McPherson, and Misty Memphis. So please, please, please go check those videos out if you haven't watched them already, as well as the content that I have on Africa. I've interviewed quite a few people in Africa and who've relocated and repatted from the US to and from the UK over to Africa. So we're on a journey. Well, this Black Exodus journey, we're moving around the world, going where we want to go, living our lives wherever we want to live them, crafting the lives that we desire, and for women, unleashing the queen that is within us. All right, guys, I love you guys so much. You can connect with me on social media. All my socials are down in the bottom. Again, I must express my heartfelt gratitude to Shana for coming on and being our guest today, and for talking with me today about coaching and about the pandemic and about how we can have more self-care in our lives, because this is important. This is the season to really focus on us. All right. I love you guys so much. You, baby, you. Yes, you are amazing. You're beautiful. You are wonderful. You are supported and you are loved. You are worthy of all of the self-love and self-affirming goodness that you have within. Give that first to yourself. And like Shana said, be sure to work from the overflow so that what you give to others flows out of a place of overflow onto your family, onto the people that you love, your friends, and out into the world. All right. Well, I love you, and I hope to see you in Jamaica real soon. Okay. All right. Well, I am SYNOLVE once again, and I'm signing off. Okay. You can connect with Shana down in the description. I've got a pinned comment as well where you can connect with me. All right. And I'm going to see you in another video real soon. Stay tuned for a video that's coming out later today. I love you guys. All right. It's on the American Dream. Love you guys. Big hugs. Bye, guys.